Welcome to Kruk and Kuip Extra Innings on a special Monday edition. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles for winning the Super Bowl last night and upsetting the New England Patriots. But now that football's over, we can start ramping up on baseball a little bit. Spring next week, players start reporting for spring training camp. So baseball is almost here. Go through this week's hot stove, maybe warming up a little bit. Speculation on collusion. Baseball coming to the 2020 Summer Olympics. And we are going to talk about the baseball team on the other side of I-80 and the other minor league teams, the Sacramento River Cats, and other affiliations that could be changing next year after the season of AAA baseball in the minor leagues. Let's start off with off-season signings. The Kansas City Royals sign Alcides Escobar to a 75 as a $4 million contract for 1 year. So Kansas City does get one player back from its original core roster. Nori Aoki is going to head back to Japan and will sign in the Nippon League with the Yakult Swallows for a $9 million contract as Aoki split time with the Astros, Blue Jays, and Mets in a utility role as a backup outfielder last year. So I wish Nori Aoki a lot of luck going back to the Nippon League this next year. The Cincinnati Reds signed left-handed reliever David Hernandez to a 2-year contract worth $2 million. And the LA Dodgers signed Mark Lowe to a minor league contract, who's trying to revive his career in LA. So we'll see if he can crack the opening day roster in LA. The Texas Rangers signed John Neese to a minor league contract worth $1 million. Neese failed to make a major league roster last year, and John Neese could actually find himself maybe being the number 5 starter for Texas next year if all things work out. Mookie Betts wins his arbitration case over the Boston Red Sox and will receive $10.5 million out of arbitration for the 2018 baseball season. Pirates acquired Josh Smoker from the Mets in exchange for left-hander Daniel Zamora and cash considerations. And the Arizona Diamondbacks signed catcher Alex Avila to a 2-year, $8.25 million contract. And he will rotate with Jeff Mathis. Mathis is the better defender, but I certainly think Alex Avila could definitely is definitely a power bat that could really bring some. He could definitely bring his power over to Chase Field this year, as Chase Field is one of the more hitter friendly ballparks in the majors, and could do a really good and really could be great alongside with Paul Goldschmidt next year in the middle of the batting order. So I think this was definitely a good signing by the Diamondbacks that makes their batting order that much better, especially in the event that they don't re-sign JD Martinez. And the Diamondbacks designate Ray Fuentes for assignment as the corresponding roster move. And the Chicago White Sox and Genmar Gomez agree to a minor league contract. And this is maybe a good spot for Genmar to revive his career. And he struggled really bad for the Philadelphia Phillies last year, and hopefully I wish him a lot of luck with the White Sox, and maybe he can crack the opening day 25-man roster for the White Sox next year. Cardinals and Edward Mujica agree to a minor league deal. And Mujica hasn't been up in the majors since the 2015 season. And a what up to Von Hook? How's your night going? The Phillies and Adam Rosales agree to a minor league contract. And last year he split reps with between the D-backs and the Phillies. And he definitely could be a good utility man as the Phillies look to find the next step in their rebuild in Philadelphia. Mark Apple stepping away from baseball, and he's just probably taking a mental break from baseball as he's not had a good season last year in the majors. The Cubs and Peter Borjos agree to a minor league contract worth $1.45 million. And Shelby Miller wins his arbitration hearing against the Diamondbacks and now will earn $4.9 million instead of $4.7 million. Nationals signed Miguel Montero to a minor league contract. And he will look to maybe crack the 25-man roster out of spring training. Looks like it'll be Montero and Severino might be your two catchers for the. Yes, I did hear about that Todd Frazier signing by the Mets. I'm going to be getting that to in a minute, Vaughn. Diamondbacks hired Johnny Gomes as a rookie league hitting coach. So I wish Johnny Gomes a lot of luck as he begins his coaching career in baseball. White Sox signed Bruce Rondon to a minor league contract. And he is a flamethrower, but he has had control issues with the Tigers, so he's hoping to benefit maybe with a change of scenery over there in Chicago. So I wish Bruce Rondon a lot of luck over there. And the Orioles acquire former Giants catcher Andrew Suzak in a trade with the Milwaukee Brewers. And it looks like they'll receive cash considerations or a player to be named later. But Suzak has a good opportunity to make the 25-man roster in Baltimore. Justin Bour wins his arbitration case over the Marlins and will receive $3.4 million instead of $3 million. JT Realmuto loses his arbitration case and will earn $2.5 million instead of $3.5 million. Ken Giles wins his arbitration case over the Astros and will earn 4.6 million over 4.2 million as a closer. Roberto Osuna loses his arbitration case and will receive 5.3 million instead of 5.8 million. Adenny Hechavarria wins his arbitration case over the Rays and will receive 5.9 million instead of 5.35 million. And the Texas Rangers agree to a minor league deal with Bartolo Colon, who will compete to look to crack the opening day roster for the Texas Rangers at the age of 45. Or we could see Colon come out of the bullpen or not. He will be battling Matt Moore, Cole Hamels, Doug Fister, and Mike Minor. So we'll see if I think Colon could maybe be somebody who can come out of the pen. And we'll see if Bartolo Colon can be a starter anymore or if he's going to be a bullpen pitcher or not this next year. But I think Colon at this point is going to be more of a swing man out of the bullpen. And the Astros re signed George Springer to a 2-year, $24 million contract. So that was a good re signing by the Astros. And this resolves all the arbitration issues between the Astros and Springer. Rangers signed Darwin Barney to a minor league contract. He spent the last 2 seasons with the Toronto Blue Jays and has had too many injuries. But I think he's certainly going to be a good defensive player for the Rangers, but he certainly will not hit for average, so he might be a good bench defensive player for late innings for the Rangers, depending on how he does in spring training for Texas. And on to the big signing for today in Major League Baseball. The Mets signed Todd Frazier to a 2-year, $17 million contract. And this really solidifies the infield for the New York Mets. And it looks much retooled. And Asdrubal Cabrera will move to second base. Jose Reyes at short, and then Jay Bruce in the outfield. If the pitching can stay healthy in New York, I certainly think the Mets can definitely bounce back this year and compete for a playoff spot. If that is, if Syndergaard and Degrom can stay healthy, you got Steve Matz, and of course Matt Harvey can keep his ego in check. And then you got Zach Wheeler. That I certainly think if the pitching rotation can stay healthy in New York this year, I could see the Mets bouncing back after a very disappointing last year. Maybe this could be a good. And I think the Mets do have the capability of having a turnaround season this year, especially since Syndergaard will always give the Mets a fighting chance when he starts. He can always go 7+ innings, so and then it puts less strain on Jacob DeGrom, so I certainly think the New York Mets are going to be a much improved team from last year. And I'll get to that a little more in a few weeks as I start doing the divisional previews. And that could be good for Mickey Callaway too. And now the agents are starting to complain about this very slow free agency this year. And the agents are starting to complain about the potential of collusion. And I don't think it's collusion. I really think team owners and general managers are starting to toe the line and drawing a line in the sand on how much they're actually going to pay their talent this year, and they're not going to make these long-term mistakes by signing on an aging bat whose production declines each year. I really don't see there being any collusion this year. I certainly think this week we might see a fury of off-season signings this week as camps open up. I certainly think JD Martinez will get signed by Boston sometime this week. I think Arrieta gets signed this week. I think who Darvish will make his choice. But I think the dominoes of the top free agents, I certainly think they're really going to start falling this week now that we're getting into now that we are 1 week away from players reporting. So we could have a lot of signings going on. That's going to be interesting to see how low this year's Winter Olympic ratings will be, especially with what's going on in Russia. And with Russia being banned from the Olympics this year, that could get really interesting. Then on to some Giants signings this week. The Giants bring back Gregor Blanco on a minor league contract. And I certainly think he will compete with Gorkis Hernandez for one of the final roster spots, being the fourth or fifth outfielder. And certainly Blanco's got some good speed, and when his bat is on, he's really good. He's definitely a good base stealer for the Giants. So glad to see Blanco back in that fourth or fifth outfielder role this year. But it could make somebody like Gorkis Hernandez or Jarrett Parker expendable once the 25-man roster is finalized. And then Calby Tomlinson, if he stinks it up in spring training, I don't know if he has options left or not. I mean, I think that this is a critical spring training for Kelby Tomlinson. He needs to crack the roster, or he might be. I don't know if he can, or he might be exposed to waivers. I'm not sure. But I think for the most part, the Giants are done signing players. They might sign a starter to a minor league contract, but I think your starting nine is almost set at this point. So we shall see about that. Now on to the Olympics. Yes, Friday starts the Pyeongchang Olympics. But in 2020, baseball returns to the Summer Olympic Games. So you could see baseball in Tokyo in 2020. And I think the US baseball team could definitely be favorites to win the gold medal. But unfortunately, you're not going to have any MLB players going to Tokyo to compete for the Olympic baseball team. And the baseball events will be held at Yokohama Stadium. I'd like to see MLB players to the Olympics. That would definitely make Olympic baseball that much better. But also this year, the NHLs and the KHL, they're not sending their players to the Olympic Games this year, so that's really going to create a wide open competition in this year's Winter Olympic Games, with the NHL players not being allowed to participate in the Teen Olympics this year. So, but we'll see. I think the U.S. definitely will be the favorites in 2020 to win the gold medal. But this will be the first time baseball's been in the Olympic Games, I think, since Beijing or Athens. I think it's either Beijing or Athens was the last time baseball was part of the Summer Olympics. But baseball and softball will be returning to the Summer Olympic Games. And it's too bad in America that we don't have professional softball. It would be nice to have women's softball be exposed and stuff. And I would like to see a professional women's softball league. It would be great. It's too bad that women's sports is not caught on here. Maybe the NHL will go in 2022, possibly. But there's going to be a lot of talk about NHL, MLB, NFL. There could be a lot of lockouts coming in 2021. And the Olympic Games in 2022, that could be a sticking point when they start negotiating a new CBA for the NHL. But it would be nice to see a professional softball league for women. And it'd be nice to see women's sports get more exposure in the US as we try to bridge the equality gap here. But I definitely like watching women's softball in the Olympic Games, and the Americans always do really well in women's softball, so they'll probably be the favorites there as softball's returning, along with skateboarding is going to be a new sport, and surfing. Yeah, I agree, Vonhook. 2021, you could see potentially 3 leagues having lockouts. And now on to the other topic of tonight, minor league baseball. I think this could be a good year for the Sacramento River Cats. I think there's definitely some good prospects coming up to the in the Giants organization for the River Cats this year. I mean, you're going to have a lot of roster competition. You're going to have Julian Fernandez, who might crack the bullpen this year. Submariner Tyler Rogers, he could be. I think Rogers could be one that could be one of the last guys to crack the 25-man roster. But we shall see. But you're going to have probably Austin Slater starting the year in Sacramento. So you're going to have Austin Slater. You're going to have Chris Shaw. That's definitely a prospect to watch in Sacramento. I think you're going to have Ryder Jones get a bit more seasoning in AAA. Tyler Beatty will probably start the season with the River Cats. He got hurt down the stretch, so hopefully he can turn it around this year in AAA. And he got hurt right around the time he was starting to turn the corner in Sacramento. So I hope this is the year Tyler Beatty can get it all together and look MLB ready. You're going to have Andrew Suarez, definitely another prospect that is probably going to be knocking on the door of cracking the rotation within a year or two. Suarez is definitely going to be a prospect to watch in Sacramento this year. And then there's another catcher prospect, actually. We'll see how Aramis Garcia does this year as the backup catcher for Hector Sanchez. As I think Hector Sanchez will certainly be one of the on the 40-man roster as the emergency call-up. And chances are, I think Trevor Brown's going to be expendable and probably DFA'd. This year is probably last chance for Mac Williamson. He's definitely got to prove it as he's falling further down on the depth chart. And if Mac Williamson doesn't get it together in Sacramento, I could definitely see him getting released. So there's definitely going to be some prospects to watch this year in Sacramento. And I think it'll be a much better Sacramento team than it was last year. You're going to have a lot of players who are now seasoned in the AAA system, so certainly definitely some good players to watch at Rayleigh Field this year. And then now you got affiliations expiring in a year or so. We are going to have one new We are going to have one new AAA team coming out. San Antonio will be the new AAA team for PCL. And Colorado, they're going to be taking over the Colorado Springs Sky Sox team as the San Antonio Missions will become a PCL team. And it's a good chance that they will affiliate with the Texas Rangers. And it looks like the Astros will affiliate with the Round Rock Express, which is really going to put the Fresno Grizzlies in a bad situation in 2019. I mean, now I think the Brewers, who are currently affiliated with Colorado Springs, I certainly think they want to maybe try to snatch up the Las Vegas 51's affiliation, as the New York Mets will affiliate with the Syracuse Chiefs, and that could create a domino effect. I certainly think the Milwaukee Brewers would prefer to affiliate with the 51's. And then the Padres double A affiliate, the San Antonio Missions, will move to Amarillo, Texas in 2019. And the Helena Brewers will move to Colorado Springs. But I also could see the Washington Nationals, now that they're no longer going to be affiliated with Syracuse, I could see them affiliating with the Nashville Sounds, which could end up having Oakland and New York fighting, Oakland and Milwaukee fighting for the 51's affiliation next year in their nice new stadium in Las Vegas. And unfortunately, Fresno is going to get what's left over between Oakland and Milwaukee. So, for Fresno's sake, I hope the Oakland A's end up affiliating with the Fresno Grizzlies. I think that would definitely be a good fit. Fresno's only 3 hours away from Oakland when the A's need to make a roster move. The cons to Fresno, though, is that, and I live in Fresno, the cons to Fresno is that Chachansey Park is not that the nicest ballpark in AAA. And of course, it gets 105 degrees on the hottest days. But definitely, I think I would prefer Oakland to affiliate with Fresno over Milwaukee. I certainly think the A's could definitely draw could boost the attendance for the Fresno Grizzlies. Oh, no, I don't live in the Bay Area, Vaughn. I live in Fresno, actually. But we do get in Fresno. Have our affiliates from the Bay Area. We get CSN California, or excuse me, now NBC Sports California and NBC Sports Bay Area. But my brother lives up in Concord, so I'm usually up that way and visit. My brother lives up in Concord, so I do visit Concord frequently. But yeah, I think I certainly see some pros and cons. But I think for Fresno's sake, I would definitely like to see the Oakland A's affiliate with Fresno in a couple years, and then maybe have Milwaukee affiliate with Las Vegas. Oh, you live in Modesto? Not too. Oh, Modesto, not a bad town. The Modesto Nuts. Well, that's good. But we will figure out all these AAA affiliation changes next year as they start announcing the affiliation changes, as teams will start announcing their after the end of the 2019 season. And I will cross my fingers that the Oakland A's end up affiliated with the Fresno Grizzlies. I think that would definitely be a good relationship for Fresno and the A's. Especially, I remember when, for the longest time, it was Sacramento River Cats affiliated with the Oakland A's and the Fresno Grizzlies affiliated with the San Francisco Giants. And I certainly think the A's farm system could bring some winning baseball to Fresno. So hopefully the Fresno Grizzlies get the A's and not the Brewers. But that's going to be a lot of challenges there. And it'll be interesting to see who cracks the River Cats roster here in a few weeks for the Giants and which prospects to watch in Sacramento. And it's too bad in Sacramento, the River Cats, they have a really good ballpark. They're usually almost always full in Sacramento, so that's a good place to go catch some minor league baseball. Down in Fresno, it's they have a hard time drawing attendance sometimes with the heat and stuff, but they do have reasonably priced tickets. And now that Fulton Mall's is now Fulton Street, hopefully that will help to boost attendance, bring business downtown. And for Fresno, we're going to talk a little more Fresno here in a minute. Right now, it looks like they're going to be bringing hockey back to downtown Fresno next year, as the Fresno Monsters are currently in negotiations with the city hall to sign a lease to play at Selland Arena next year. So that would be really good for downtown Fresno. And this would go a long way towards reviving downtown Fresno by having hockey in the wintertime. And this would be the best thing to happen since the Falcons played in downtown Fresno, as they need to get more. And Selland Arena currently sits vacant without a tenant, and I certainly think the Monsters could be a good tenant for Selland Arena if they're really serious about revitalizing downtown Fresno. But the minor leagues, they will start the first week of April, like Major League Baseball does. I think Modesto does not have a hockey arena. Now you can go an hour north of Modesto. There's the Stockton Heat up there. That's a nice little barn to catch some AHL hockey. I suggest you go up to maybe Stockton and maybe catch a Heat when the Heat play the CUDA. I've definitely gone to some Barracuda games. Those are a lot. Sometimes those are just as fun as going to Shark games. But they do have a nice barn in Stockton if you ever want to catch a Stockton Heat game, especially when the CUDA is over in Stockton. So I definitely recommend that. Well, I am going to wrap it up for this Monday night. I am getting tired. Next week, we will be talking about the Cleveland Indians changing their mascot, as Chief Wahoo will be no longer the mascot in a year or two. That's next week's topic. Thanks for tuning in. Peace, love, and soul. Good night, everybody.